Hey YouTube, the military gun guy here. I am working on a couple of projects here. Um, Both are essentially the same, but both are also kind of different. What we have is a Krag rifle stock. This one happens to be an 1896, and this one happens to be an 1898. They were, these things have had 100 years of service. They're covered in grease and grime and all kinds of garbage. They've been boiled thoroughly. I may need a treatment with the wood bleach, but they've been boiled, which unfortunately, even though it gets a lot of the grease and the grime out and is one of the best ways to do it, it also will expose some potential issues within the stock. But all those issues we can easily fix. Now, these essentially look the same because they are. They're for the 1890, what, 280, 96, 98 Krag rifle. The thing that if you want to, let's go there. If you want to tell the difference on the Krag rifle stocks, it's actually quite easy to tell. The 1898 has this sort of square cutout that kind of did it really quickly. Whereas this one, even though there's a piece that's missing that I'm going to replace, had a kind of a dished out recess for the bolt. These both had been sporterized. Unfortunately, neither one very well. And what had happened is, they back in the day when these things were brought in, they were just kind of thought of as, they're good rifles. They were just kind of thought of as just like the Arisaka, something to go hunting with. These both belong to different clients, so what I'm actually doing is restoring these to full length. The nice thing about this one, I don't know if you can see, is that the boiling actually brought out the stock stamps a little bit more. These are original proof marks from the arsenal, basically showing that the rifle passed inspection. The issue, though, with this one is you can see this crack here. It's a very common crack. It happens on the Mausers. It happens on a lot of bolt-action rifles, and so we're going to show you how we're going to fix that. The other thing that we did, this is also a piece that looks like may have been glued at some point and it came off. We're going to boil that piece, put it back on with epoxy. It'll be good as new. We'll fix a few small cracks in here. You can see what we did as far as the repair. This is the original. This is the original stock here. This is a walnut forend, and now you notice they don't match. We're going to fix that as well. But what we ended up doing, and I'll show you on the other stock, what we ended up doing was I took the replacement forend, and this forend has two holes already pre-drilled. And then it has this hole as well. So what I did is that I got two brass screws and then a wood dowel, and I epoxied them in there. So this is a nice, base for this. Similar to the Lebel, the Berthier rifle repair, what I did is I drilled basically locator holes into the stock itself, and then basically I'm going to fit this inside of here, epoxy it in place. Since there is a lightning cut already in here, I'm actually going to, once this kind of goes in nice and tight, then I'm going to drill a screw straight down through the bottom for some strength. I can also have the option of filling this completely with epoxy if I want as well for added strength. I can probably put some fiberglass material down there. Last night I did this repair. You can kind of see what it looks like. It's sort of like a cooking show when they show you how to cook it and then they pull it out of the oven. So you can see the brass screws are inside the stock, so this is nice and tight. And then you have the wood dowel. It's your choice whether to clean it up or not. I wouldn't. I would just add more to this just to give it some strength. You can pack some fiberglass cloth in there, and I'm going to actually put a screw straight down right almost to the bottom. So that'll actually secure that thing perfectly. I used wax paper. And I put the barrel inside, and then I clamp the barrel on both ends, and then I have a long clamp that goes lengthwise, and that actually pushed these two parts together. But all that's really left for the outside is to dress this up a little bit. I can do that with a file, and then with, don't even probably need a sanding or a Dremel. I can probably just do that with a file and a sanding block. And then this rifle will be stained and finished and whatnot. Small crack there, filled it with epoxy. I'll clean that up with a file. There's a little bit of roughness up here. I may sand that out and use some sawdust to actually fix that. But the two repairs that we're going to be doing are essentially the same. Again, here there's a crack. This could have been an old hairline crack, and then the boiling opened it up. This one also has a very short hairline crack, but the bigger concern that we have is it's breaking through the wrist. So the way the repair is going to work is we have our Debcon, which is the greatest stuff in the world. This or the 2-ton epoxy, do not use Gorilla Glue. It is garbage. So what I'm actually going to do with this repair is I'm going to drill into the stock deep enough, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a wood dowel this way. So it's actually going to go into the stock like this, okay, from the inside, and then when it's dried, then I'm going to dress this little part, and you won't even see the repair. Once it's stained, it's literally almost invisible. I did this repair on a Springfield rifle. Unfortunately, like an idiot, I did not videotape it, so I'm going to video this one for you guys. This one's going to be a little bit trickier, but not as much. I just need to drill deeper, so I have a longer drill. If this doesn't work, I'll get another even longer one. But I'm going to drill right into here, and I'm going to drill straight into the wrist. I could possibly use a long screw, or I could use a long piece of threaded rod. That's one option that I can do. Or I can just put a dowel in there, clamp the hell out of it, and that should be good to go. There's no point drilling from under here because I'm just going to be basically going parallel with the crack. So what I want to do is I want to drill this way to bring these two halves together. Once it's epoxied, again, we'll epoxy the outside here, here, clamp it all together, and this thing will be good to go. This needs a little bit more dressing. Not too bad. It looks like somebody kind of got carried away with some wood filler, and there's a couple of little pieces left of the original kind of shit finish that somebody had put on it. But this will all be sanded off. This one doesn't really have any Arsenal stamps, unfortunately. They've long been either faded or sanded away, and this one, we might be able to clean it up with a wire brush to see if maybe there's something underneath there. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with this one. So we get our drill. The wood rod is about the width of the drill bit, roughly. So you want kind of a semi-tight fit, but not too tight. And you're just going to drill right into the crack, and you're going to actually drill beyond the crack as much as you can, if possible. And go slow because there's no real hurry. Now, on a lot of these rifles, the wood gets compressed fairly quickly, so you may have to back your drill bit out and clean it and then continue drilling. Okay, so we now have a hole that we can fit this piece in. And again, we're going to epoxy it in, then we'll have to tap it in with a hammer. But you can also test the depth of, actually don't even need to do that. You can take your drill bit and you can stick it in the hole like so, or you can even take that end. And that gives you sort of an impromptu measure. So okay, so based on this, it shows that, let me get my fat finger out of the way. Based on this, it shows that that's about the depth of the hole, which is more than the length of the crack. This should be good to go. So what we're going to basically do is we're going to mix up the epoxy. We're going to shove epoxy down in there. We're going to epoxy this up real good. And then we're just going to tap it in and let it dry. And then when we come back, we'll do the dress and then finish up all the other little repairs and get this stock dialed in. Then I'll show you what to do on that stock over there that has the wrist crack. Okay, so stay tuned. So we have our epoxy mixed up. So what we're going to do, take our toothpick, and we're just going to drop some epoxy down into the hole. Use a bit of a twisting motion, because if you don't, what ends up happening is that you're trying to get, it's almost like it forms like an air bubble. But if you twist it, it tends to kind of lock it in, and it removes the air that would prevent it from seating properly. So you have your dowel, and it has epoxy on it. And you are basically just going to kind of twist it in, hand tight, and you just take a hammer. You have to kill it. So you heard it bottom out, so now you're done. And at that point, you take some more epoxy, and you're just going to fill this crack on top. So this will basically fix it from the inside and from the top. And that's about it for that. Since I have this sitting here. I'm going to take the leftover epoxy and I'm going to basically drop it into the repair that I did yesterday. This is below the barrel line, so this won't interfere anything. And even if it kind of screws things up and your barrel hits it a little bit, you can always just dress it up afterwards. Again, these repairs will be, once the rifle's assembled, this repair will be completely invisible, which is what you want. I avoid the use of wood fillers. They mostly suck and don't do a good job. They claim to be invisible, but I've found that even with Phoebing's leather dye, which I use almost exclusively for my repairs, even the dye can't penetrate. You don't have this off color. It just looks like complete shit. So I'm just cleaning up this, not cleaning up actually, I'm actually adding a little bit of material to this crack. This area will be covered by the barrel band, so I don't really necessarily have to worry about the repair showing through, because it will be, not only I try to make it as invisible as possible, it's also being covered up by a metal part, which is why a lot of the duffel cut rifle stocks that you see are done under the barrel band area, specifically for that reason. So when they put the rifle back together, it's actually easy to conceal it, even though it's not very strong. Okay, so what we've done, again, is we have drilled into here. We have epoxied a wooden dowel in. Again, you don't have to go crazy with it. Just, you know, I did drill the hole out a little bit more because I didn't want pounding this in to expand the crack at all. Some people will clamp this. I don't really feel the need to, because this is a kind of a non-expanding crack. I put a little bit of epoxy in there because there was a little small crack in there. Gravity is going to pull this in, so you may have to go back after you're going to dress it a little bit. You can go back, put some more epoxy, and then you can do your final thing. And then I put a bunch more epoxy in there. Again, I'm going to kind of countersink a small drill, a small screw through the bottom to hold this in place. But this is a very strong repair, as we have 2 brass rods going into the stock and then this wood dowel, and then this will probably fill with fiberglass or something and go from there. But again, when we're done, this will be a nice invisible repair. And, you know, when we get the completed rifle back together and restored, you won't even really be able to tell what I even did. So stay tuned. I'm going to finish up that rifle stock over there, and then we'll move on to something else. So hold on just a sec.